Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale with part 1 of what will be a new series on my channel, giving specific strategy advice catered towards one area of the battle, of the match, of the game to help you guys have success. And today, what better logical starting point for this series but the starting hand. The starting hand, the starting play, not only by you but by your opponent, is often overlooked and really one of the most important plays of the entire match. Today we're going to discuss do's and do nots with your starting hand, and also how to read what deck your opponent might be playing based on their first play of the match. So let's go ahead and get started here. Oh, and real quick disclaimer guys, I am on the developer build right now, so no, not all these gems and gold are my own. So let's go ahead and see a sample starting hand with this deck, and we'll talk about my possible starting plays of the match. So this is actually a pretty good starting hand. I could play things safe, play the Archer split behind my King Tower. I could go ahead and play the Hog Rider at the bridge, or I could play the Furnace defensively to start out with. So let's talk about positioning and why it's really important. So I could split the archers by playing them either of these two locations behind my King Tower. That mitigates my risk because I'll have one archer in each lane, then I can make my next play depending on how my opponent reacts. So the other play could be the Furnace. Now you want to play your Furnace in the middle of the map, 3 squares below the river. That's going to stop any oncoming Hog Rider, or I could play my Hog Rider in a rather aggressive move right at the river near the bridge towards the side. That way if my opponent misplays a defense, I can go ahead and avoid that. Now it should go without saying that I wouldn't want to open this match with my Fireball unless my opponent played 3 Musketeers behind their tower and I could use it on 2 Musketeers in a tower, or that I could use it to kill an opponent's Electro Wizard along with damaging their tower. It's always super important to remain cognizant of how much value you're getting in terms of elixir with your spells. So if I wanted to start with a Furnace, even if I place it all the way over here, it's still going to attract my opponent's Hog Rider again, as long as you keep it 3 squares from the river. And as you can see here, I'm going to split my archers. Now if this was my opening hand, in my mind it's a very safe play, it's a very conservative move. If I was to group my archers together on the same side near my crown tower, I'd be susceptible to a Fireball taking out my archers and doing a decent amount of damage to my tower. Now another common mistake that I see all the time in Clash Royale is people being way too aggressive for their first move to open up a match. You can see I have the Elixir Collector in my hand and I really want to play it, but I'm not going to play it right away. A nice rule of thumb is don't open up a match playing a card that costs more than 4 elixir. It's just too risky in my opinion. So what I like to do is let the opponent make the first move if I want to play the Elixir Collector. Now that I saw the opponent's going to split archers in back of their King Tower, I know they can at most rush me with 7 elixir because their archers cost 3 elixir. So now I'll play my Inferno Tower and I have enough to defend, even though I did make that expensive 6 elixir investment into that Elixir Collector. And really the same principle applies to tanks. It's not that I won't play a Giant or say a Lava Hound as my first play of the match, but I want to wait to see what my opponent does first so they don't punish me in the opposite lane as my tank and possibly take down one of my towers. And speaking of towers, the tower is one of your best defensive weapons in the entire game. Think of it as free elixir because it's playing defense for you without any investment from you. So with that being said, if I can start out a match playing defense first and then going into offense, I look at it as my tower providing a free elixir boost, and then I'll have more offense to punish my opponent on the counter push. Now check out what's going on in the screen right now guys. My opponent broke one of the golden rules. He played a very risky 8 elixir golem way in back of his King Tower, which is the correct placement for a tank, but it's the wrong timing. Again, it was way too risky of a play, and I did exactly what you're supposed to do when your opponent makes a risky first move. You punish punish them with a fast-moving card in the opposite lane, such as the Elite Barbarians, Mini P.E.K.K.A, or Hog Rider. Just be careful not to overcommit on your push as well. You'll still need some elixir left behind to defend against the Golem. Now, let's talk about what your opponent's first move might mean in terms of clues to what the rest of their deck is. So here the opponent played a Tombstone as the first move. Now, this isn't always the case, but more often than not, this is going to mean the opponent's playing some sort of a tanky beatdown deck, so a Golem or a Lava Hound or something like that, because if they weren't, it wouldn't make a heck of a lot of sense to play their Hog Rider counter, if that's what the Tombstone was, as their opening play of the match. Now, if they play a Hog Rider as their first play of the match, they probably have a fast Hog Cycle deck, and they're just trying to feel you out to see what you counter their Hog Rider with, so they can play better predictive plays as the match goes on. And because of this, it's important as a defender to always add a little variety to how you defend your opponent's win condition, such as a Hog Rider. Now, you can see a Princess here. If they start out a match with a Princess, in the current meta anyways, oftentimes it means they're playing a bait deck, so they're trying to bait out your arrows or your log, usually followed by a Goblin Barrel or something that's going to leave you stranded without your big counter. And guys, if you want a more comprehensive list of your opponent's first moves and what they could mean for the future of your match, go ahead and check out the link I'll include in the description below. It's a really great guide by MWolverine63 on how to guess your opponent's deck based on their first play. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you picked up a tip or two to bring into your next match. Wishing you a lot of success, and as always, take care, guys.